Hi everyone, it's Milena again. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and thank you a lot for checking my videos out. And today in this video I'll be teaching you how to pick the right size on AliExpress. Apparently some people really struggle with it and they even refuse to shop on AliExpress due to this, I'd say, issue, which is not really an issue because it can be so simple to pick the right size, and I'll tell you how you should do it, how it's better to do it, and I'll simply share with you my personal, I'd say, experience of like shopping on AliExpress. Actually, it can be quite fun, and I think you should take this opportunity to pick what you like. And I think because AliExpress has so many like things there, like such a huge variety of different fashion items, I think it's sort of a shame not to sometimes use this opportunity to pick what you like and to shop there. Why not? Well, I think that measurements can be a bit, difficult. Maybe not difficult, but rather a bit, like challenging, I'd say, because it's not very clear and it can be different from the sizes you are used to and so on. So basically, some sellers have different size and measurements to others, and it can be a bit confusing. And what you actually need to do, first of all, you actually will have to measure yourself, and it is very important using, well, that sort of thing. I think it can be very easy to do that too. Actually, measurements is important for shopping, I'd say, and picking the right size on AliExpress. So you should definitely do it. Take your time and do it. The most important measurements are bust, waist, and hips. So as it comes to bust, you just take like the measurements of the fullest part of your chest, and with waist, I'd say it is the smallest, but well, with that one it's a bit tricky. You will have to see yourself. Maybe just just put your hands on the waist and see where they where it feels like natural. But also, perhaps if you really struggle with it, maybe you can like ask someone or just Google how to do it, because for me it would be easier to show you how to do it, which is not what this video is about, in my opinion. It's not about measurements really, it's more about picking the right size. But yeah, I'd say that for me it's usually the smallest like part, I'd say, of the belly, which is not perhaps the right word to use, but yeah, if you know what I mean. And with hips, it's like also the fullest part of your hips that you should take measurements of. You just like go around and you see. So when you pick the size, I wouldn't recommend to pick the size that is exactly like your measurements, because it can be way too tight for you. Obviously, you'll need it a bit bigger, at least in few centimeters, if we are talking about centimeters. And well, actually it depends what you are like going for. If you want something more baggy, something more free, or if you want something more in like slim size, slim fitting actually, or for example, let's say tight dress, that would just sit on you like perfectly, and there won't be any much space. If you want that, well, it's your decision, and well, just pick maybe a few centimeters still slightly bigger than your measurements that you just made, for example. So how you actually pick the size? So on the site itself, first of all, you will need to pick the items that you want to buy, and quite often actually there are a few sellers who sell a similar item, and the thing is, some sellers can have bigger range of sizes. And I would recommend to pick the item from that seller, because they have sizes, they have more like variety of sizes, and I think it's better. If there are only like two sizes, for example, it's very difficult. It's quite often can be difficult like to pick the right size, because well, two sizes, it's not really telling us much still, even if there are like measurements and stuff. So if there are a few sizes, for example from XS, or for example from S, and like XL, for example, and if it's the way you pronounce it, well, you know what I mean, L size, for example, M and such, you can already look at it. first you pick the color of the item you like, cause yeah, quite often you can pick the color of the dress, for example, and then you just look at those sizes and you see if there are like a lot of them or just few of them, and I think it can tell you already a lot. But actually still you don't pick the size. I wouldn't recommend doing it straightforward, because you need to scroll a little bit, or for example to go to the parameters where there are like a list of sizes. There would be like you know, a list of actual sizes and some measurements for each size that you can pick from already. You can look, okay, so my bust, for example, is like 90 centimeters, for example. Actually mine is smaller, probably around 84, and I would look at it and I would see if it will fit me well, if it would sit tighter, or well, tight, slim, or if it would be more, you know, like free and like more baggy, oversized, perhaps, which I actually like quite often. So you can already see what you want and what each size is like gonna look on you. And I think it can be very easy to pick it this way. Though if you still struggle, I'd say that it is wise to look at reviews of other people who are buying that item. Some people don't recommend doing it, but I would recommend to do that because it can be very helpful. Some people actually mention their, for example, how tall they are. And you can already think, okay, like me, for example, I'm quite short, and I would see if that person is like much taller than me, and I would see how it looks like, how the dress, for example, looks like, if it's like longer, if it goes down their knees and such, because such details are important, right? So quite often those people who make reviews, they you know, post pictures also. They also post, for example, some of their measurements details. They tell which European size they usually wear quite often, which can be very helpful in my opinion. Some of those reviews are not helpful at all, but there are some that are super helpful, and I would recommend doing it. I think it is a good idea to take a look at reviews. And if you're still not certain, you always can actually contact the seller. You can even like give them your measurements and like ask them, you know, for their opinion, which size would be better for you, if you want it slightly baggy or less baggy and stuff like that. So in my opinion, sizing is not as difficult as it seems. And with shoes, I'd say that quite often, yeah, you will need to basically see how many centimeters, I'd say, is like your feet and such, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think it can be easy if you know what you're doing, and usually each seller has the sizing like a list. It's like this, like a box. There is, for example, size S, M, and so on, and there is measurements for that size that they, you know, sort of I'd say present for you to look at and to choose like from I'd say, yeah, actually. So I don't think it's that difficult, and yeah, I'd say that shopping on AliExpress can be quite fun, and it can be very, you know, like cool. So I don't think there is something that you should be really afraid of if you pick the right, if you're picking the size, if you, especially if you measured yourself, because this is what you really need to do. Though I had troubles before with AliExpress, and I noticed that lots of people complained that they would pick the size that would be way too small for them, but for me actually it worked opposite. I picked the size which was M. Usually in other stores I would pick size S, for example, and such, maybe even small. I used to wear size XS for tops and pants, for example. Now it's a bit bigger, and I picked M, and the pants I bought from AliExpress were so big for me, so it's not always that it will be smaller. For me, for example, it was like bigger. So yeah, just take this information in consideration and just really measure yourself, study perhaps measurements that they have listed there, the sizing too, and this is what's gonna help you to pick the right size. I hope this information can be helpful and you're gonna enjoy your shopping on AliExpress, because I think it's worth your attention. I mean, AliExpress has such a variety, and I think, yeah, it's worth your attention, because you can really pick the fashion items that you really, want. So yeah, perhaps you have questions to ask. I'll be glad to answer them as soon as possible. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, give this video thumbs up, and I'll see you soon.